So you mentioned your first project was Violet Dawn.
Yeah.
So what this reminds me a little bit of that these like books is God of Blades, which is at
Yeah.
least the first. I don't know if it's your next project, but I know it's the. I believe it's the first one you worked on with Adrian, who
Yes.
later worked on CodeSpells, and that had a book component to it, right? Wasn't it?
Yes. So I worked at BioWare on the Old Republic, and I that was when I moved to Austin. I lived in New York for 7 years, and I was trying to get a job in the industry, and there were no studios in New York at that time. Avalanche hadn't opened yet in New York, and there were a couple studios, but they were all going out of business. And so I I moved to Austin, and I worked at BioWare. That was my first game job, video game job, was BioWare on the Old Republic, which was just like an amazing opportunity because at that time BioWare was like one of the most prestigious companies you could work for. So it was just so cool to come in and be able to like see that level of production with like 600 people working on one game. It was totally nuts. Um, and then eventually I was a contractor and I got my contract extended a couple of times, but eventually I had to leave. And I was like, I'm not going to get another job. I want to make this game God of Blades. And so we found some people who were interested also, and they kind of convinced me to go ahead and do it. And that's how we met Adrian, who is my partner in crime and on all these projects. And yeah, it was about books. One of our a guy who works at Arcane, the guys who make Dishonored. Uh, his name was George. He's a brilliant writer. Like he's just like next level kind of storyteller, and he's the kind of guy who when he starts talking everybody just stops and like listens. Like they all sit around him in a circle to hear what he's talking about because he just has that kind of storyteller vibe. And his obsession was books and like preserving lost fantasy books, especially from the old days, which were my obsession as a kid. These like Frank Frazetta covers and really wild psychedelic trippy books from the 60s and 70s.
Is this one of them
And
on the screen? Like Cult of the Hidden Star? Is that like?
so that's a fake book.
Oh, it's a
So
fake book.
It
Ha!
looks
yeah,
great.
that was the idea, was we were going to create a series of books and present them as if they had existed in the 70s, and that we found them, and they were uh you know the fiction was that they were public domain, and so we made this game set in their universe. And it was a great frame for the game because I got to make all
Brilliant.
these old book covers, and George would write all these excerpts from the books, and it just was a great wrapper for a video game. It felt really cool. And then some guy out of nowhere is like, "Hey, I'm gonna write one of your books." Like he obviously knew that they were fake, and he's like, I'm writing one." And then he wrote it and put it up. You can
For
like,
real?
it's not. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's okay.
Is it? But I mean, it seems like a
Pretty good for a
pulp
free
fantasy
book.
novel. Dang, that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. So one of the books, I can't remember what it was called. It was, I one of the books became a real book, so it like reverse made itself real.
Manifested
Even though
itself
it
into
started,
game.
yeah, it manifested as a real book, even though it started out fake. Um, but yeah, God of Blades, I learned a lot because it's a 2D game. It's an iPhone and uh, Android game, and yeah, actually you can get it on PC. Probably the only version that still works is on PC. You can get it on Steam.
And
And
I know I can. I'm pretty sure everyone can, but I can definitely see like when I look at God of Blades, I see the code spell, like I can
yes,
see the connection with the code spells aesthetic here. But
definitely,
I am
yeah,
not enough of an artist to know what like why, like, you know, I mean, I see cool rocks and I know you're like really into like cool like geology and stuff like that. Maybe
yeah.
it's the colors, I don't know. But can you tell us in fancy art terms what's going on here?
I mean, for me, my personal obsession when I'm making an image is like saturation of color. I like really oversaturated colors. I like them almost to be like grotesquely saturated. Like I don't know why, I just like that. And that probably goes back to those old book covers I liked when I was a kid. And also, I like uh, landscapes where the geology is obviously not like natural looking, and it has like more of a connection to the story. So like, even if it's not direct, like in CodeSpells, there's this subtle network of all these crystals, right? And you could see them on the mountaintop, and they're scattered all over the map, and they're in the temples. And so there's this element of geology that is totally unrealistic and weird, but it makes sense in the world. And I like making those worlds. Like, I like when you get to make up all the rules from the ground up, literally.